The Renaissance is generally characterized as a period that looked back to the achievements of classical Greece and Rome. Artists working from 1400 to 1600 were inspired by different aspects of classical culture, from mythological subjects to mathematical systems of proportion. Around 1485, the Italian artist Sandro Botticelli created a painting more than 5.5 feet tall by 9 feet wide, with the story of the birth of Venus as its subject. According to classical myth, Venus was born miraculously from the sea. Both ancient Greeks and Romans recognized her as the goddess of love, although the Greeks referred to her as Aphrodite. Botticelli would have been familiar with the many representations of the goddess in vase paintings and classical statues. For his painting, the artist chose to model his figure on Venus Pudica, or modest Venus, who chastely covers her genitals with her hand. It is likely that Botticelli also knew of the Venus myths through the writings of his friend, the poet and classical scholar Agnolo Poliziano. However, a close examination of the painting will reveal that Botticelli did not just copy classical models, but instead used them as inspiration, composing the figures and delicately painting the background in his own unique style. Botticelli was as skilled as any other great artist of his time in the use of linear perspective to create the illusion of depth. In this work, however, he disregards this training and deliberately flattens the sea and sky, making the figures appear to float across the background as if detached from it. Rather than depict the waves, Botticelli suggests them with V-shaped white lines that create surface pattern. The flattened background of the painting emphasizes the figures in the foreground, especially that of Venus, the focal point of the work. Our attention is drawn to the goddess because she stands in the center of the composition on a giant shell. The central figure of Venus is framed to the left and right by other characters. To the left, the wind god Zephyr and the nymph Chloris blow Venus to the shore, their breath and gaze directing our eyes to the goddess. To the right, a female attendant gestures towards Venus, offering her a cloak to cover herself. Botticelli again departs from classical models in the proportions of his Venus. Her figure is elongated and curves appealingly. Notice her long neck. Botticelli did not use the balanced stance called contrapposto that his classical predecessors had favored. Instead, Venus stands with her weight on her left foot, her body also leaning to the left. If she were a real person or a marble sculpture, this Venus would probably fall over. The flowing waves of her hair, highlighted with expensive gold paint, emphasize the curves of her body. Her contours are lightly shaded, and her body is softly modeled. Her whole figure is an area of highlight in the painting. The lighter values used for her body make it appear to project forward from the surface. The 16th century biographer Giorgio Vasari wrote about seeing the birth of Venus displayed in the Florentine villa owned by Lorenzo di Pierfrancesco de' Medici. The Medici family ruled Florence for much of the Renaissance and commissioned many great works of art. Neoplatonism was a popular school of thought in the Renaissance, and perhaps a topic of scholarly debate for Lorenzo di Pierfrancesco and his peers. It was one of many philosophical models designed to interpret the workings of the world and tackle the big issues of human existence, such as truth, death, love, and creation. The values of Neoplatonism came from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. In Raphael's masterpiece, The School of Athens, Plato is depicted as one of the central figures. He points upwards, indicating his belief in the power of perfect ideas and emphasizing the divine over logic and reason. The formal elements of Botticelli's Birth of Venus give it meaning as a Neoplatonic artwork. The ways in which the artist denies the logic of perspective and contrapposto, instead concentrating on elevating the divine Venus in the foreground, suggest an emphasis on ideas rather than reason. The beauty and modesty of Botticelli's Venus exemplify the Neoplatonic ideals of virtue and perfection.